Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to the Piper Report. So I just saw a great clip that I'm going to play here, and it's perfect. Congressman Bill Posey is questioning the Federal Reserve Chairman, Janet Yellen, and the topic they are discussing has to do with auditing the Fed. And Congressman Posey brilliantly asks her, what is the harm in auditing the Fed? Why are you against it? And she tries to make up these crazy reasonings that have no basis in fact, that absolutely make no sense, and I'm grateful that Congressman Posey actually calls her on it. Since Ron Paul actually tried to pass legislation to audit the Fed, the House has always been passing it in their chamber, but it never passes the Senate. Not only that, though, it has the record for the most number of co-sponsors when Ron Paul actually introduced it. I heard it on the Ron Paul Liberty Report. They were talking about that. Had over 320 or something co-sponsors, which is a lot. And see, what happens in this country is that the Federal Reserve dictates our monetary policy. And that's just not me saying it. In 1976, Congress did a study on the board of directors, that is, the governors of the Federal Reserve. And they concluded that the directors or the governors represent a small elite majority that controls much of the economic life in this nation. I've done a video on it where I actually show the study. I will post a link in the description. I recommend you watch it. But yeah, the Federal Reserve is one of the most nefarious, surreptitious entities that exists in the world. And they have so much power and so much control of America, it is insane. They are the ones that want fractional reserve lending. They are the ones that dictate the type of reserve to loan ratio happens in banks. And what that means is the less the reserve to loan ratio is, that means the more money is printed out of debt. The more money you print, the worse your economy becomes because of inflation. Inflation devalues the dollar, increases the national debt and deficit, and we cannot pay it back. Because since the money is actually created from debt, if we would try to pay back all of our national debt, the economy would collapse because there's more debt than there is money in the economy. So the Federal Reserve is very tricky. They are very smart in a way that they know that they have complete control over the economy if they want to. They can do anything they want to this economy if they really wanted to. They could destroy it within a second if they so choose. Here is the video.
Can you give me an example that would justify the lack of transparency?
Well, we don't have a lack of transparency.
You do. If you can't audit it, that's a lack of transparency.
So I regard the Federal Reserve as one of the most transparent central banks in the world.
That's a statement. What do you fear about the audit? Give me a real-time example.
So I think the FOMC needs a space in which it can have honest conversations and deliberate in real time about the decisions that we make without having political influence brought to bear in second-guessing decisions that we have made and opining on them, possibly with the idea of reversing them.
So that, we can discuss things in public that are sensitive, talk about national security. The Supreme Court does the same thing. Just give me one example how it could hurt the Fed being transparent.
Because what you're talking about with the GAO are policy reviews.
Give me an example, not a general swipe of review. Just say, take, for example, this. If somebody said this, it would be horrible. It would be end of the world for the Fed. Give me an example like that.
So I would envision a situation where the GAO, at the request of members of Congress, might come in and say, at our meeting a week ago, they've taken the transcripts and reviewed what we said. They believe that the decision we made was the wrong one at that particular meeting. And I would say that's an extreme interference and politicization of our ability to make independent monetary policy decisions.
So you're telling me we shouldn't be transparent for the fear of being second-guessed or somebody criticizing you because they thought you were wrong. Yeah, do I get it?
What we're talking about is political interference in decision-making by the committee.
I don't see that. If it's after the fact, I don't see the interference in decision-making.
Well, I do, so I
Well,
have a different-
give me an
I
example.
gave you an example.
Just
and
give me
that's
one
how I-
example of why they shouldn't have that transparency.
Well,